Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conclusion of our trilogy. This is the part where basically it's just glaze. I was gonna do stuff like this, right? Because this is the victory lap right now. We're just doing a fucking celebration. I've hit every video out of the park. Everyone is saying, oh, so true. True, React Messiah. All your opinions are fact. You're just so true, bro. I know. And then you got dudes saying stuff like, this man was born to react to this series. He just built different. And then you got the Glazer himself coming in saying, there's a clear gap, bro. There's a gap between these other reactors and S tier. S tier reactor is crazy. cawcawTV is the perfect example of the kind of thoughtful, analytical viewer this series deserves. My God, how much did cawcawTV pay this guy to fucking say this shit? God damn, what a paid actor. And I thought about doing just a very aggrandizing, video, glazing myself, but no one wants to hear that, straight up. I think at a certain point, the whole self-glaze, and it gets boring. I've already done that. So I thought to myself, and I think there's a much better productive way that we can spend our time together. So today, we're going to do something different, and I think that you're going to enjoy this. Cue the empathetic music in the background to make my point come even more true. All right? I thought about doing something fundamentally different and talk to you guys about just like this history of content creation that I've done, the mentality that I have, and hopefully it's going to be a very relatable experience that you guys can have so that you too can kind of apply this to your life. All right? So here it is. The thing about this, where do we even start? We're about to get I'm about to get really serious, okay? This is like not... Like, we're not doing, like, unserious time right now. Like, I'm not playing Unwelcome School. We're getting very serious. I'm gonna get very, very vulnerable and very honest and tell you things about my personal life that I probably shouldn't tell. But, again, considering the situation that we're at right now with all these new people coming in, I think it is a very good idea to kind of give you an idea of who I am and what I've done and what it took to get here so that you can get more parasocially addicted to me. So, where do we even start? First of all, I'm Korean. And I'm a Korean immigrant, okay? And when I came to Canada, okay? In like grade 3, okay? I came to Canada in grade 3 and I was the only Asian kid, okay? Throughout all of elementary to high school. And listen, things back then were not as nice as now, okay? Things back then were very racist. And do you know what it's like when you are the only different kid growing up as a child in a racist redneck city? It's not a good time. I basically realized at that time that it's like, oh, I'm different. The color of my skin, the way that I look is fundamentally different from any of the other people out there. And that fucked with my head. People would make fun of my English accent. People would make fun of the way that I looked. Whenever I came to school with my like homemade lunch that my mom was so gracious enough to make for me, because it looks different, because it smells different, people were bullying me saying, ew, what is that gross? It came to a point where I was literally like, not even eating the lunch by myself. I would straight up just not even eat the lunch because I was ashamed that people would view me differently. And I know how shameful that is to basically like betray my mom, who woke up early, took her time to pack me a lunch that was honestly better than any of the other fucking white kid lunches. These white kid lunches were fucking random ass fruit roll-ups and just peanut butter sandwiches. I was getting made some like full course meals. But because I was treated different, I was like, damn, this is really weird. I want to fit in. And I think that's when like I really started to understand how to read a room. In Korea, there's this line called 눈치 빨리다. And 눈치 basically means social awareness. It's a very good thing when you are basically able to read the room and be understanding of other people's motives to use that to your advantage. So I was already from that culture, but on top of that, I had to like adapt so fucking quick and understand what the incentives were from other kids. Now, I don't know if there was, I was like consciously doing it, but so to a subconscious level, because I wanted to fit in so much that I started doing that. So guess what I had to do? In order for people to stop looking down on me, I basically and I remember there was this one time where I had no friends and I would be outside in the neighborhood riding my bike and like crying. That's a core memory. I would be crying while riding my bike, asking myself, why don't I have any friends? Is it because I look like this? I see all the other neighborhood kids hanging out and I can't join in because I'm so different. And they're gonna bully me and make fun of me. And then rather than hating them, I kept hating myself. It became like a internalized thing of like, I need to change myself. So that's what I did. At a certain point, I realized the only way to get the respect of these people around me is to simply dominate at everything that I do. Whether it be the arts, I was like a pianist, concert pianist, I was doing violin, I was doing all these different instruments, going to festivals and winning awards. I would be the #1 academic student at school, winning all these, superficial awards. And then I would also be in every like school sports clubs and teams. And I would become the captain and I would try to like lead everybody. And by doing so and just showing up and proving with just results that is undeniable, that's when people started to be like, this is the cool kid. This is the kid that I want to be around. And suddenly, everyone started to flock around me. Back then, it felt great. Back then, finally it was like, wow, like people are looking up to me now because I have these things. And later on, much later on, I had the realization that like, these are fake relationships. These aren't really my friends. But in elementary school, imagine a kid that is different from everyone else that's finally had a chance to become part of the in crowd. It was amazing. That's kind of like the mindset of me throughout elementary and high school. I started to win. I was on a newspaper for getting into like scholarships and doing like university level like research in high school. And I remember people were like, this is the coolest kid in town. But I always felt so fucking empty. I felt so empty because even though I was going to all these different parties and I was like the most popular kid in school or whatever, none of these people truly knew who I was and I didn't really know who they were. Maybe you can also relate to this in high school, but I was the most loneliest when I went to parties surrounded by people glazing me. Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, some people will feel lonely when they are not included into these different parties and different social, things. In high school, it's all about like, it's the weekend. And now it's like, hey, we got these different parties and all the cool kids goes to do these different things. I was going to every single one of them. And to a certain level, I understood that like my social status was secured. My social status, it's so funny too, but like back then, like it's all very subconscious thing. You just want to be cool, right? You want to be the cool kid. You want to have aura, whatever. You want to go to the, the coolest parties with the hottest girls and blah, blah, blah. But even if I did all that, it felt so fucking empty because these people never really knew who I was. And I was simply showing them this one persona that I knew was carefully crafted to appeal to them. And all throughout high school, I was glazed as the genius. Like, because my academic and my athletic results were so good, I was getting scholarships and all these different merits, and people are saying, this kid's gonna go to become a doctor. This kid's gonna go to become whatever, blah, 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 a surgeon or whatnot, right? But then, university hit, right? I was basically small town syndrome. What was really going on is that in my small redneck town, our education system was fucking trash. Yeah, my GPA was like 98%. I'm not even exaggerating. My GPA was straight up 98% going into university. It's not necessarily because I'm smart. It's because the people around me are fucking stupid, and the education system here cannot compete on the way that like the main city, you know, stuff are doing. I was from a small town. University hits, and I go to UBC. That's right, University of British Columbia, baby. This is like heralded as one of the best schools in Canada. Blah blah blah. I know Toronto exists. I know U of Waterloo exists. But I go to UBC, and I finally realize that I'm not special. This was, what an eye-opening moment, bro. What an eye-opening moment where you think you're the best of the best? Try going to a place where all the best of the best are gathering and you realize you're a fucking side character. You're an NPC. But there's a part of me where I just couldn't accept that. I was always the best and I had to prove myself. And that's when like I fell into a spiral of depression. Because no matter how hard I tried, I realized that, bro, this shit is like, I'm out of my league. I'm straight up a fucking Yamauchi, bro, surrounded by a bunch of Anokojis. And this is, and when you have a special kid, when you have, right? When you have like a special kid that gets glazed like this, and you go on to getting to experience failure for the first time, right? When a special kid, right? When a kid gets called special and never faces failure, and then finally gets hit in the face with reality, you just fucking crumble. You don't know how to bounce back. Because your entire life was people telling you, you are special. You're gonna be something. You're gonna be the next this and next that. Then your ego gets fucking shattered. And then at that point, all I did, I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed that I couldn't live up to the expectation, right? And these expectations were technically created not just by others, but myself too. Again, you need to understand all the different building blocks of what it, led to be here. I had to prove myself every single time. And then I couldn't live up with the expectations. And then I was too ashamed to talk to my old friends and colleagues. And then there was also that part too, right? There's also this other part too. I also became a hermit and cut off all social interactions, connections. Because all these people, these friends, these never really were my friends. These people were people who worship me because of the persona that I portrayed onto them, but they never knew the real me. And I always felt that there was something wrong about that. I remember deleting all social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, because I'm like, who am I even making these posts for? I was really popular back then. I was getting a lot of likes and engagement and blah, blah, blah. But at a certain point, it's just like, who am I doing this for? Who am I really? And this came to like an ego death, and all I did was just smoke weed. Straight up. I was so fucking depressed, and all I did was just smoke weed, watch anime, and escape my life while being in college. And it's probably like my darkest period. Straight up, no interactions. So depressed, isolated, did nothing but smoke weed and just watch anime and do nothing with my life. And that's when I think like this introspection started to really happen. But that's also when I like gave up on life. I was still trying really hard to like get into med school or get into like my target school of whatever's gonna happen during my undergraduate degree. But there's also a part of me that was like, maybe it's just easier to give up. Maybe I should just settle with normalcy and I should just relax. And it was a nice little quicksand slumber for a while. And then I came home. One day, I came home and my mom is bald. Not in the way that I would yell bald when I watch an anime, but my mom didn't have any hair when I came home one day. And I was like, did you donate your hair? Like, what's going on? Turns out, my parents were hiding the fact that my mom has stage 4 cancer. And I'm like, damn, I didn't even know how to feel. Because I was already fucked up with all these different failures. I wasn't even calling home. I wasn't even calling home because I was too ashamed to face anything. And my parents are also, like, I guess, under the assumption that I was too pressured, that, like, they hid this fact from me because they didn't want this personal news to basically get in the way of my, just, like, university. And when my mom had cancer, it was stage 4, and I remember, it was so fucked up. It was so fucked up that I remember taking my mom to chemotherapy treatments during summertime, and I was talking to a doctor about this, about the diagnosis of my mom. And back then too, I was playing a lot of gacha games. And spending too much money that I didn't have on these meaningless things. And I understood, like, probability, right? Gacha games, right? There's like a 0.1% chance to survive, you know, to pick up, basically, like, pull like an SSR card. And I remember the doctor telling me that, like, listen, your mom, the likelihood of her, like, surviving is like less than like 5%. And then I remember driving home to give the news to my parents because they were too tired to go to the doctor, so I had to go. And then I remember driving home and then coming home and then just, like, in my car, just doing nothing. I was just sitting there and I just sat there. And I was just thinking about this 5% figure of, like, this is fucking crazy. Like, all those different gacha games that I got lucky on, sure, it's just for fun. But this is like your mom. And you need to understand, I just got into college. My mom isn't even 50 years old. At that point, my mom is 49. You understand that? Do you know what it's like to know that, like, everyone, because, like, all my other colleagues or whatever, peers or friends, you know, they're going on vacation with their parents and having a good time. And then I'm sitting here in my car, too scared to go home and let my parents the truth about this number, because it's just like, and I couldn't even tell if it was reality. And I was still just, like, smoking weed in order to feel numb from all of this shit. Like, it was just, the burden of the reality was so fucking much that I'm just sitting there, just, like, in just shocked out of, like, is this real? Like, what have I done to deserve this? And my parents are also very religious people too, right? And I was also forced to go to church with them during elementary school and high school in Christianity, but you know how logical and pragmatic I am. You know the type of person that I am and how I'm gonna be questioning shit, right? When the pastor's saying Moses fucking split the waters, I'm like, bullshit. What do you mean? You got fucking superpowers? What? This ain't a fucking anime. So I was always skeptical of that. But when this shit all started to break down, I started to really realize that, like, there is no God. And I'm not here to tell you to be an atheist, okay? If you have your own religion and your own faith and you're doing well, that's great. I think religion is great in terms of gathering a community and helping people in need. But to me at that point, I was like, if God is real, why would my mom have cancer before she's even the age of 50? Why would he do that? Why are all these different, and to this day, when I see old fucking ladies outside smoking cigarettes, it just baffles me. Because these grandmas are like in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're still fucking living, not taking care of your life. My mom had a great track record of health. She's a very health conscious person and she tried so fucking hard. These are immigrant parents that, like, sacrificed everything to come to Canada and to basically, like, work so many different jobs, and then finally, and she was about to become a nurse too. She worked so fucking hard, working these shitty ass jobs that she didn't want to take care of her family while going to school at the same time. And then finally she became a nurse. And then stage 4 cancer happens, and it's just like, if there truly is a higher being, why would they do this? And then people will say God has his mysterious ways. There's a reason why that child got bone cancer and never had a chance to grow up beyond the age of 5. Whatever, you can believe whatever you want. But that's when everything started to really crack and start to realize. I realized at that point that life is so fucking precious and valuable. And looking at the actions that I was doing, of all this different, you know, failures that I encountered in university, and how like depressed and self-pitying and how much like self-pity that again that I had, that's when I think a turning point happened. At the end of that year, and this is really fucked up too, on fucking Christmas, do you know what I got for Christmas that year? A dead mom. I won't forget that night in the fucking hospice. Basically, it's like a pediatric, I don't know if that's the right word, but basically there's a center where it's a unit of the, I think it's called palliative care or something. It's basically when it's over, there is no chances of survival. You are put in this portion of the hospital where you're just waiting for them to die. And I remember being in that room because it was like mom was, it was looking like it was gonna be her final day. And then I had to keep checking to see if she was breathing or not. I had to constantly go over there and check her nose to see if there was breath. And I remember when she finally stopped breathing, and this is gonna sound so fucked up, I felt relief. I felt happy. Because finally she can rest in peace, and finally my dad and my little brother can finally, and myself too, we can move on from this situation. Because if you've ever dealt with someone with cancer or anybody with terminal illness, it fucks your family up, bro. For like months and months, if not years, you're constantly under this like burden and anxiety that like, could it get better? Could it get worse? And it breaks families apart. It's so fucked up. If you've gone through this or you've had a family member that gone through this, you would understand this. That's why the whole concept of like medically assisted suicide, I think it's actually a good thing in very small cases where people should die with dignity rather than becoming a fucking zombie, shriveled to nothing. Like, you have no idea how fucked up chemotherapy is. Like, all these different things, the burden on your body, you literally die from inside out. To see my mom in this kind of like vegetative state, holy shit. That just fucks with you, man. So when she finally passed, and it was some fucking anime shit too on Christmas, bro. I got a dead mom for Christmas. And I remember that night going home and sitting in my bed and telling myself that like, I shouldn't be fucking around with my life. Because up until that point, again, I was so depressed from failures of being hyped up through all my life, crafting this careful persona to be the coolest and the most popular kid in order to survive in a community that rejected me. And then I went to school and then I was so fucking depressed and then I became a fucking husk of my former self. And then it took me a dead mom to realize that like, I need to get my shit together. This experience still is probably one of the most like formative things in my life. Because I know that if I can get through this, I can get through anything. So whenever I have, and at that point, I went back to school, right? The turning point. This is pretty funny. This is called a turning point, right? This is the moment where I was like, it's time to stop being a fucking bitch. It's time to take accountability of my own fucking life and do something. And it shouldn't have taken a dead mom for me to realize this. But that just gave me such a burning desire I can't describe it to you. And some people, when you have lost a significant other or a loved one, basically there's two ways that people react. Some people will just get collapsed under the pressure and become depressed and basically give up entirely. Others that survive this shit, they have this deep desire that is indescribable. Because like, I know again that if I can go through this, I can get through fucking anything. Any of my problems from now on out is gonna be fucking trivial compared to what I had to personally go through. So this was the moment where it's like the turning point, right? The comeback. At this point, basically, it's back to this. It's back to the glaze, except this time I'm just putting in the fucking work. No excuses anymore. Distractions gone. All these different vices gone. I am locked the fuck in, and I will do whatever it takes to accomplish my goal. At that point, I remember this. Co-op, baby. Top 500, top 50. So here it is, bro. Basically, I'm now on the path of becoming a software engineer. The most hyped up meta right now is to become a coder. Because if you can become a coder, you can get into these top fucking companies and make a shitload of money. And listen, at that point again, I still don't understand what I want to do with my life. And this is a very important concept, right? This is a very important concept of doing what I need to do versus what I want to do. But at that point, I was like, I need to get my shit fucking together. This is no second chances. I've already squashed the first chance that I had after entering college. And it took me a dead fucking mom to understand I can't fuck up again. No second chances. And basically what this means is, in my cohort of this software engineering class, if you get in the top 50 GPA of the entire school, you get into the program known as co-op, or basically internships, and then you get to intern at a top tech company. My entire life at that point was dedicated towards justice. Just like what I'm doing right now with content creation, that's the only thing I did. Every day, I would get up, live, and breathe school. 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. until I get kicked out of campus, and I'm still fucking grinding. I go home, I have free time for maybe like 2 fucking hours, and I go to bed, repeat every fucking day. And every day that I would get up in the morning, and then I didn't want to do something, I would tell myself, you're being a fucking bitch. Is this really that difficult compared to what you had to go through with your dead mom? How bad do you want it? More than anyone, more than anything, this was the incantation that I would tell myself every fucking morning, that I don't care if I'm not the most talented. I don't care if I'm not the smartest, whatever. But the least I can do is outwork everybody. I can fucking put in the work, and this is a choice I can make, and outwork everybody. And by doing that and forging this fucking mentality, boom, I got in. For that entire year, just locked the fuck in, sacrificing. I had no social life. I had nothing. Well, social life, that part is a bit untrue. At a certain point, many people in my cohort started to realize that I was a fucking grinder. That I had this like burning desire compared to everyone else. Most kids in that class were very spoiled kids who had a lot of safety nets. They were already fine. They didn't have this pressure to, to not fuck up again. But some people saw my burning desire and how I would be the first one in, last one out of campus every fucking day. And eventually, I started to form. Now, I'm not gonna say I started to form apostles like I'm some sort of fucking messiah, okay? I know that I call myself the React Messiah, but followers started to show up one by one. They wanted to study with me, they wanted to collaborate, and we got a good group, an elite fucking group of people that we all, and those people I still talk to. These are one of my most fondest friends that I still have to this date, and we go for dinners, and they're all, college, friends. And they're all doing very well in life too right now too. But that was like an elite group of people that I fucking forged. And I think they understood that like this guy, he has the drive. And if I follow this guy, I know that I can influence by that too. That's why I think that like being around influential people is so important, man. Like the people that you surround yourself will pretty much determine what kind of person you become. I was pretty much a Sigma wolf that didn't want any fucking friends, but eventually I was kind of like a tsundere then, right? I was like, listen, like this depression arc, just locked in, hat on, just headphones in, don't fucking talk to me was my attitude. But people were started to be like, come on, bro, you want to hang out? And then I became a lot more like softer. And then I got into co-op. And here's the really fun thing. Here's the thing. I got in, but I felt depressed. And this is a very interesting turning point in my life again. I accomplished the goal that I set for myself. The one thing that I thought that if I just put my life on the fucking line, like again, it's some this shit. Ready? Blue Lock, have you ever played soccer with your life on the line? Okay? You guys know this, right? Everybody knows about this, right? Have you ever played soccer with your life on the line? What a ridiculous fucking frame. But that's the way that I approach life then. I was putting my life on the line to get into co-op, the internships, because it's a fucking guaranteed path to success. Bro, that is the mindset. I got in. But here's the thing. When you accomplish your goal, if you don't set new goals, you become depressed. And it was so weird. I remember getting that email of acceptance. And I thought to myself, this is gonna be the happiest moment of my life. This is gonna be the moment where everything turns around and I'm gonna be happy. I wasn't happy. I became empty, exactly. I became depressed because it's like, I got in. Now what? And at that point, I had a friend who basically, right? And then you need to set new goals and progress, because if you don't, right? If you don't and stay stagnant, you feel empty. How many times have you ever like, it's kind of the same feeling too of like, how many times have you guys ever like played video games or tried to do something in your free time, but you know that like, it's meaningless, it's unproductive. You feel like you should be doing something more with your life. There's like a demon in the fucking back of my head telling me that like to do more and more and more. I guess that's like a separate thing. But basically what I'm trying to say right now is, if you don't constantly try for new things and progress with your life, you're gonna feel empty. So then the new goal was, let's get into a top company for internship, right? So new goal was get into top tech company, right, as internship. Because when you get into co-op, basically you're in the internship program, but now you have to do actual interviews to pass it, right? And then basically the next year my life was doing that. And I did it. I approached it with the same fucking mindset, and I got into a top tech company. And when I got into top tech company, here's the thing. After I got in, felt empty again. I'm making good money, good life, work-life balance. I have the cushiest, white-collar job you could ask for. So many people are just basically slaving away outside in the boiling fucking sun. And here I am, complaining about how easy my job is, and I feel empty. And this is the point where I think it truly, this is a question you need to ask yourself. Need versus want. Okay? This part, I think that if there's any takeaway you should take from this video, is this part. All your life, you are set up to basically get a good school, get a good education, get a good job, so you're gonna do well in life. I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Especially Asian families, right? You are basically told from a young age that if you want to be successful in life, you study hard, you get into a good school, you get a good job, and then your dreams come true. And because we're fed this narrative, you never have time to ask yourself, what do you actually want to do? Because everything that we've talked about so far is just surviving in this society that we call capitalism. But these are things that you need to do, okay? These are things that you need to do versus what you want to do. And here's the most fucked up part. Because I've been locked in, right? So hard, I never even asked myself, right? What do I want to do? Straight up, after I handled all this shit and I got a great fucking job, I'm asking myself, what do I actually want to do? I have no answer. Because I've never had the time to ask myself. Do you understand how fucked that is? I don't even know what I personally want because I've been so busy just trying to survive. And when you are in the context of a student that's trying to get a good school, get a good job, you don't have time to ask yourself this. It's too fast going. You have no time to ever reflect on your life and think about what you want to do, because when you start thinking about what you want to do, maybe you're not going to get to a good school because life is so competitive, because life is so fucking fast that like you don't have time to take a breather. And these are also very privileged things, right? Not everyone has this social fucking security. Not everyone has the privilege of being able to ask what you want to do. And this was when I really started to go down a spiral of like, holy fuck, what do I want to do, bro? I don't know. And then this happens. I start to realize that if I go back, I start to go all the way back to my formative years back then. I remember that I was a great entertainer, right? I remember that I was a great entertainer and I was the most popular kid at school. Why? Because I'm funny. I got a great sense of humor. I have a great awareness of like social cues. My emotional and logical intelligence is very high. You're gonna call me a narcissist right now, but like this is an objective fact. My ability to be witty and to have the presence of moment in the mind, to be able to think of stuff and come up with jokes and to engage, I was a natural entertainer from the beginning. And then I thought to myself, well, I'm also watching anime reactions a lot. I love anime. And I watch these reactions and I think it's so fucking bad. I think the quality of anime reactions is so poor that I think that I can do this. So what did I do? I do what I did best. Entertain. Boom. So now I start a YouTube channel while holding down working a job. Now, and I remember this, bro. I remember basically think about it like this. Every day that I would go to the work and come home, what I would do is study after work, right? I remember, right? Every day is go work, come home, and prep and study for more interviews to get better paying job. That was my life for a bit. And that shit was depressing, man. Because I'm still locked in doing what I need to do, but I feel so fucking empty. But when I started to make a YouTube channel and I had to create something of my own value, even if I averaged 10 views per video, this gave me happiness and fulfillment. I remember I first started making videos and I was like, can I really do this? I was looking at other people like your boy Roshi and many others that's been doing this for a long time. And back then, I think Freshest Anime was also at 10,000 subscribers. I remember if you look at your YouTube analytics tab, basically you'll have channels that like your audience watches the same shit with. Baldy was there, bro. Baldy was there putting his work in. He had his, bullshit going on too with, starting a new channel and stuff. But Freshest Anime was there, 10,000 subs. I remember that shit. And I remember back then, even if I got no views, the fact that like I was doing something that I wanted to do and this was working towards my own goals, right? Rather than slaving away for another person's goals and collecting a paycheck, to be able to create something of your own, this is fulfilling. I all this time, my everyday life is this again. Just grind towards climbing the corporate ladder. But even though I'm making no money from YouTube, it was the happiest I've ever been. Because I'm like, I see hope. I see light at the end of the tunnel. For the first time, I'm no longer doing what I need to do, right? For the first time, I'm no longer doing what I need to do, but rather what I want to do. And because now I'm able to tap into my creative expression, doing something that I want to do, and doing something that I'm good at, and to have this shit build up, my God, it's one of the happiest times of my life when I look back at it. And here's my work schedule. Every day, 9 to 5, work. 5 to like 10, content creation. Sleep. Repeat. That was it. And for an entire year, even if I was, you look at this schedule, right? Sorry. You look at this schedule and you're probably thinking, what a fucked up schedule, right? You have no free time to hang out with your friends. You have no free time to do anything other than just work, work, work. But to me, I wanted to do it because this was my ticket out. This is the one thing that like can actually give me fulfillment and like happiness to be able to do what I want to do. So I didn't force myself to do this. Every day I came from home, this was the outlet. This is my stress relief. This is the one good thing in my life where I'm like, thank fucking God that like there is light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what I did. And then for an entire year, I had no growth. For an entire year of cawcawTV, and some of you may not, I know a lot of people from that old days are no longer here anymore. But some people know the One Punch Man manga reactions, man. Some people remember the Arcane reactions, man. Some people remember the 86 reactions, man. It was so scuffed. There was no editing in the video. The camera quality is garbage. My mic quality is so fucking bad. But I'm still doing it, bro. I'm still putting in the work, and then we had steady growth. It was humble beginnings. And but copyright happened. Fuck you, Danmachi, bro. Danmachi Season 2 copyright strike happened. I had no idea, right? No understanding of YouTube and copyright system, right? Now I do. Now I know, you know, how to counter and survive. But back then, I was so scared. Because if your channel gets terminated under these TOS things, you cannot create a new channel. Your legal information is binded to AdSense and you're gonna get banned. I had 2 copyright strikes. And at that point, I knew that if I got a 3rd one, it's over. What I should have done then is to understand how this shit works. And if I had a network of people that's gone through this shit and were able to give me mentorship and guidance, maybe things would have been different. I deleted my channel. Do you know what it's like to spend an entire fucking year obsessing and building this shit brick by brick, and to think that like this is my ticket out of this corporate hell? My entire life, 1 year's worth of work, gone. I deleted my channel and I told myself, if I'm truly meant to be a content creator, right? I can do this again, but better. I remember crying. I remember getting Vietnamese takeout food that day when I deleted my channel. It was so fucking like shocking to me. And I remember walking home crying. And you're gonna think that's so ridiculous. You're gonna think like, what are you talking about? Like, are you serious? Like, no one's dying. And I know that I talked about the scenario where my mom died in the past. But this is still something that I poured blood, sweat, and tears in for an entire year. And then I had to kill my own child. I had to kill my own baby. That's my channel. And you're gonna think it's funny, but try putting this much effort. Like, I put my life on the fucking line, like that Blue Lock shit, bro. I put my life on the line working on this thing, and finally we had some sort of fucking growth. And then I did that. And then I took some time and I told myself, no one cares about you. Simply deliver results. This stoic mindset, you're gonna think that it's very toxic, but no one's gonna coddle me. I have nobody but myself. And there is no time to be depressed. I can't afford to be depressed. If I wanna fucking make it, shut the fuck up, get back up, do it again, and then that's how we did it. And that's why, if you look at my channel right now, if you look at my channel and you sort to the oldest videos, there's a reason why shit just starts randomly out of nowhere. Random fucking call in episode 9, episode 10 Licorice Recoil, because it was during that season where I had to delete my shit and I was like, there's no time to be fucking around. We need to get back in and get the content out again. And that's what I did. So I made another channel. And this is the current channel right now. And here's the thing. Even though I made a new fucking channel, right? Even though I made a new channel, do you understand how fucking just like, what's the word, chopped it was? Because to this point still, after spending a year and a bit, I still don't understand how YouTube analytics work. I have no idea how the algorithm works, bro. I'm just a dumb fucking idiot just stumbling his way, trying to cover all these different things right now. And I'm still getting no growth. And that's why I do these performance review videos, right? Let me show you. Let me show you my analytics. You see this? And right now, by the way, oh my god, we are fucking, we're actually going to another level right now. Look at the right of the graph. You're looking at the viewership right now for a lifetime, okay? You're looking at the lifetime viewership on my channel right now. But basically, until like October of 2023, and this is another fucking year of nothing, bro. So for another fucking year, I'm like fucking up, doing nothing, because I have no clue how this shit works. And there is a moment when everything comes to click. And I talk about this in the performance reviews. I look at, and I was so jealous of channels that did better than me. And I was, for the god of my life, I just couldn't understand. Why are people not watching my videos even though people are saying, you are so peak, you're so underrated, your commentary and your reactions are nothing like I've seen on this fucking, you know, platform before. Why do you get no views? I don't fucking know! So then I set the ego aside and looked at my competitors' channels. Shoutouts to Neil Desai. That dude might have actually saved my channel without him even realizing it. Because Neil's channel is the first channel that I realized this dude doesn't cover random weekly series. Like, these are all seasonal channel, like animes. Like, when I say seasonal anime, it's like this, right? It's like random fucking seasonal animes, and every new reaction channel falls into the same trap of trying to be like, well, I have no subscribers, how do I get views? Well, they're not gonna find me unless I cover all these different things. Well, guess what? In the game of YouTube, the more diversified your channels are, so your content is in the beginning, the worse that your content does. The more focused into one topic, the better it is. And when you're covering 20 different fucking reaction content, people that's watching this don't watch this, people watching this don't watch this, and so on and so forth, and you get a fragmented audience and the algorithm cannot scale your content. That's why the second channel exists, as a proof, where I applied this concept. I put my money to where my mouth is, right? And I basically showed you with proof that, hey, I'm gonna focus on just one thing, Beyblade. And I fucking popped off. And after that, I'm gonna focus on just one thing, Ben 10. Look at the fucking average viewership, bro. This channel's not even at 10K subs right now. This shit gets better average viewership than my main channel because I'm focusing on one thing. And when I looked at Neil's channel and I realized this dude is covering random ass old shows, it broke my mind. My brain couldn't handle it. It's just like, wait, this dude is watching anime made 10 years ago. Who's Who's watching this? Why are they watching it? And the more I did research, and try to study this game, the more I realized the essentials of a community. The importance that you need to fucking build a community and scale off of that. The algorithm? Listen, the algorithm does exist, but so many people just think about chasing virality and trends, thinking, oh, the algorithm loves me, the algorithm hates me. The algorithm doesn't give a fuck about you. They're just trying to make videos for your target audience. And if you have a community, a very strong community that you built up, focusing on one topic at a time, that's how it begins. And you can clearly see her, right? This is not a random, like, what's it called? This is not a random fucking luck thing. So many people think YouTube is just luck. There is a luck component to it. But look at this shit. If you really look at these different, breakpoints, do you think that it's just like, again, this is Eminence in Shadow finale popping off, but that doesn't mean anything because that still had no fucking growth, right? But you start to realize that there's these breakpoints right here, right here, right here, right here. A thing happened here, right here, right here. There was a little bit here, and finally here. These are 3-month intervals in which I'm able to work with my community, attract my, basically trends, and then retain them. This is a fucking system. This is a business. You need to understand the idea of being able to tap into, and here's a one too, right? Like so many people think like it's all random luck. No, this is you understanding the game and putting your fucking time and effort in. And this is how it all began. And here's the thing. So many people, right? My work ethic is still the same as before. What did I say in the past? What did I say during this phase right here, right? This part. When I had to lock in during the university phase, I remember what I told you. No one gives a fuck about your problems. Simply deliver results. Put the time in. If you're not the most talented, then fucking work hard. And because I come from this type of mindset, this type of mentality, there is nobody in this content creation niche that can outwork me. Now, that is an exaggeration. I'm sure that if you were really taking the time to look at every single people, there's a lot of hard workers. I'm not denouncing other people's hard work. But what I've noticed is so many people, right? So many people get lucky and kind of like stumble into content creation due to one viral thing or due to like social connections. But because they don't have a foundation like me, they don't understand what it's like to work a real fucking job. They don't know what it's like to hit rock bottom. They have no understanding of reality. They're out of touch. Me? I've been at the fucking bottom and now I'm fucking finally getting up. And because I have this past, because I have this like character arc and this just like stoic fuck you mentality of just putting the work in, this is the reason why I can grind like this. This is the reason why every fucking day I pull up streaming 6 to 8 hours, covering 6 to 8 videos, having a second channel more on, and people are like, how are you doing this? Are you even sleeping? I'm sleeping well. But like nobody treats this shit as seriously as I do. And the fact that finally, people are starting to take notice and we are starting to be able to compete with those big channels in this niche, I cannot describe to you the level of satisfaction and the happiness that I have right now. And here's the thing. This is still the beginning, bro. This is still the beginning. And I have every time that we hit new success points, and this part is a bit toxic, right? This part is really toxic because no matter how well I do, and this is a problem that I need to kind of address for myself, no matter how well I do, I'm never truly happy. Because every time we get a new break in viewership, I am happy, I'm delighted, but in the back of my mind, it's like I tell myself this, right? Every time I get a new milestone, you know, success. Like, for example, the 40K subscriber count. I don't give a fuck. That is a given. That goal is something that is obligated and entitled to me if I put the work in. I do not celebrate it. Because, right? I'm not happy. If I celebrate these superficial things, I lose sight of what's important. And what's important? To fucking put the time in and to make content. So many people get big and then they basically put the gas off the pedal because they're making so much money. They think that they're too big to fail. And they start to get very lazy and entitled. Me? There's a demon in the back of my head that I told you before that tells me, you're happy about this? What the fuck are you happy about? You can do more. You're happy about 40,000? How about 50K? How about 100K? You're happy about this new breakpoint where you're gonna average like 2 to 3 million views per month? Who gives a fuck? Other people are averaging 10 million views per month. What are you happy about? And it's so toxic. And I'm becoming a bit better in like maintaining this, because what I need to do is acknowledge that what I've done is good. Reward yourself. Treat yourself. But at the same time, never get complacent, right? So the compromise, right? The healthy approach is celebrate your success, but don't indulge in it, right? Stay locked in and focus on the fundamentals that got you here. Because if I keep doing what I do best, having fun and making content for my audience that is supporting me, everything else will settle itself. But if I go too extreme on one side of, let's say, if I go too extreme of, oh, I'm a big YouTuber, oh wow, I can only now, you know, pump a video every other day, you're dead. Other hungry kids is gonna show up and take your lunch money. And then the other side too, if I never acknowledge my success, and if I never acknowledge like my work and happiness, then I become an empty hollow ghoul where all I do is just work, but never take time to enjoy what I got. And what's the point, right? You're working this hard so that you can live a nice life, right? If I'm not able to reward and treat myself once in a while, it defeats the point. So that's pretty much it. I kind of wanted to, and that's where we're at right now. Hopefully you were able to listen to this almost an hour-long video and understand and have some takeaways, right? Because I feel these are life lessons that like no one teaches you. Nobody is gonna sit you down and teach you about the importance of hard work, the importance of being stoic, and to have, and that no one is gonna save you, right? Listen, I wish that we lived in a nice world with rainbows and butterflies where everyone is happy, but that's not it. We live in a fucked up world, and this is the way I do to survive in this environment. And a lot of people don't take the time to sit you down and basically ask, what do you want to do? Right? Like beyond just getting a good job, beyond just getting a good job and living a good financially successful life. We human beings are not created to just fucking be thrown into this system of capitalism where your entire value is pumping out economic value to prop up the GDP for these fucking governments. You're a living being. You're supposed to express yourself in a creative way. And I know that like it's so hard when you're so busy trying to survive. You're just trying to keep your head above the water because life is so hard. Things are harder than ever. Jobs are harder to get. I get that. But if you never take some time to like do some deep reflections and ask yourself, what do you want to do? Instead of what do you need to do? You're gonna blink and you're gonna be 30 years old. You're gonna be 40 years old. You're gonna be married and you're gonna have kids and maybe you're gonna have a house, but then you realize I settled in life. That like I married and settled to this job and have these kids, but this is never what I wanted to do. Maybe I had these other things that I wanted to do. Maybe I had these other ambitions and passions that I wanted to pursue, but I was too scared to do it because society tells you that you need to just be in line and do the thing that's necessary, right? And I'm not here also telling you that you need to like drop out of school, right? The takeaway from this video isn't you need to drop out of school and become a YouTuber. No, that's fucking stupid, all right? Take care of yourself first, handle the base safety stuff, and then on your free time, like what I did, think about what you want to do. Rather than just turning a blind eye and just living for the weekend, imagine a life where every day is the weekend because you get up and you're happy because you're excited to do what you want to do rather than what you need to do. And these are things, again, that no one wants to talk about because it is an uncomfortable truth of life and everyone would rather just turn a blind eye and work their fucking job and just, you know, that's basically being in the Matrix, right? I know how cringe it is to say you need to break out of the Matrix and become a millionaire. That's the other extreme. I'm saying think about what you want to do as a human being rather than being treated like a fucking livestock into this corporate hellhole that we live in. Anyways, this is supposed to be an anime reaction channel, not a life coach, you know, motivation channel. But hopefully you're able to take away like my story and understand why I'm like this. And maybe you can apply some to your own life too. See you next time.